The morning on New Eden started like any other. Sarah Martinez finished her coffee while watching the sunrise paint the twin moons in shades of amber and gold. The colony of 12,000 souls had grown from a handful of prefab shelters to a thriving community in just 8 years. Children played in the streets between hydroponic farms and manufacturing centers, their laughter echoing off the crystalline buildings that had become the signature of human engineering in this sector. Sarah served as the colony's communications officer, a job that mostly involved coordinating supply runs and maintaining contact with Earth. The last message from home had arrived 3 weeks ago, carrying news of her sister's wedding and updates on the terraforming projects in the Centauri system. Life was peaceful here, almost boring in its predictability. That changed when the long-range sensors detected the incoming fleet. "Sarah, you need to see this." Dr. Chen's voice carried an urgency that made her stomach clench. She found him in the sensor station, his normally calm face pale with worry. The holographic display showed 17 ships approaching at sublight speed, their configuration unlike anything in the human databases. "First contact?" Sarah asked, though something in the ship's formation suggested otherwise. They moved with predatory precision, spreading into an attack pattern that any military academy graduate would recognize. "I don't think they're here to talk," Chen replied. He enhanced the display, revealing sleek vessels with weapon ports clearly visible along their hulls. "They'll be in weapons range in 6 hours. Governor Williams called an emergency session within the hour. The colony's leadership gathered in the administration building's main conference room, their faces reflecting the same mixture of fear and disbelief that Sarah felt. Williams, a former Earth Defense Force colonel, studied the tactical display with professional detachment. "We have to assume hostile intent," he announced. "Our defensive capabilities are limited to mining charges and construction equipment. Against a fleet of that size, we wouldn't last 10 minutes in a direct confrontation." "What about evacuation?" asked Maria Santos, the colony's chief engineer. "We have transport ships." Williams shook his head. "Not enough for everyone, and those ships would catch us before we cleared the atmosphere. Our only hope is to send a distress signal and pray someone receives it in time." Sarah's hands trembled as she activated the colony's most powerful transmitter. The message would take weeks to reach the nearest human outpost, but she had to try. She crafted the transmission with care, knowing it might be their last communication with the outside galaxy. "This is New Eden Colony, Kepler 442b, coordinates 19-7 Alpha Delta. We are under attack by unknown hostile forces. 17 ships, unknown configuration. Requesting immediate assistance. If anyone receives this message, please remember us." The alien ships entered orbit 4 hours later. Sarah watched from the communications center as they took positions above the colony's major population centers. No attempts at communication came from the vessels. No demands or ultimatums. They simply positioned themselves and waited. "Maybe they're scanning us," Chen suggested hopefully, "trying to understand our technology before making contact." His optimism died when the first energy beams lanced down from the sky. The aliens didn't target military installations or infrastructure. They aimed for schools, hospitals, residential areas, places where families gathered, where children played. The crystalline buildings that had taken years to grow shattered like glass under the alien weapons. Sarah watched in horror as the elementary school where her neighbor's daughter attended classes simply ceased to exist, replaced by a crater of fused sand and debris. The attack lasted 3 hours, methodical, thorough, systematic. The aliens worked their way across the colony with the efficiency of exterminators, reducing 8 years of human achievement to smoking rubble. They targeted evacuation centers where survivors had gathered, hunting down the fleeing with the patience of predators who knew their prey had nowhere to run. Sarah found herself trapped in the communications center as the building around her collapsed. Emergency power kept her equipment running, and she used every frequency available to broadcast what was happening. Someone had to know. Someone had to witness what these creatures had done. "They're not taking prisoners," she transmitted, her voice steady despite the chaos outside. "They're not interested in our technology or our resources. They're killing everyone. Men, women, children. This isn't conquest. This is genocide." A section of ceiling crashed down near her station, and she could hear the alien ships hovering directly overhead. Through the gaps in the debris, she caught glimpses of the creatures themselves as they landed to finish their work. Tall insectoid beings with compound eyes and mandibles that clicked with what might have been satisfaction. They moved through the ruins with purpose, ensuring no human life remained. Sarah's last transmission went out as the aliens finally located her position. "If anyone receives this, remember New Eden. Remember what they did to us. And remember that we were just farmers and engineers and teachers. We never hurt anyone. We just wanted to build something beautiful among the stars." The energy beam that silenced her voice forever also destroyed the communications array, but not before her final message joined the earlier distress signal racing toward human space at the speed of light. Among the stars, automated relay stations would amplify and redirect her words, carrying them to every human world, every station, every ship equipped to receive them. The aliens finished their work as the sun set behind the twin moons. New Eden's 12,000 inhabitants lay dead among the ruins of their dreams. The crystalline buildings that had caught the light so beautifully now reflected only fire and smoke. The hydroponic gardens that had fed the colony were ash. The schools where human children had learned about the galaxy were craters. As their ships departed, the aliens left behind only silence and death. They had accomplished their mission with ruthless efficiency, eliminating another human settlement from the galaxy. In their experience, humans were soft creatures who built beautiful things but couldn't defend them. Easy prey for species strong enough to take what they wanted. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The distress signals from New Eden continued their journey through space, carrying Sarah's voice and her final testimony to every corner of human civilization. And when those messages reached their destinations, they would trigger a response that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. Admiral Helena Kane stood in the center of the Earth Defense Force's primary command facility, watching as Sarah Martinez's final transmission played for the 7th time. The holographic display showed the young communications officer's face, streaked with dust and blood but still defiant as alien energy beams reduced her world to ash around her. Every word burned itself into Kane's memory with crystalline clarity. "How many confirmed dead?" Kane asked, her voice carrying the weight of 3 decades in uniform. "All 12,000, Admiral," replied Commander Torres, the intelligence officer who had first received the distress signals. "Long-range reconnaissance confirms no survivors. The colony has been completely sterilized." The command center fell silent except for the soft humming of computers processing data from across human space. Kane had overseen humanity's expansion among the stars for 15 years, guiding colonization efforts and defending settlements from pirates and natural disasters. She had never encountered anything like this. "Analysis of the alien ships?" she inquired, already knowing the answer would be insufficient. 17 vessels, biomechanoid design, energy weapons approximately 30% more efficient than our current technology. No matches in any known alien database. They appear to be a completely new species. Kane studied the tactical recordings as the alien fleet methodically destroyed every trace of human presence on New Eden. The attack showed no signs of military doctrine as humans understood it. No strategic targets, no attempts to capture resources or territory. Pure extermination carried out with clinical precision. "Admiral, we're receiving similar reports from 3 other sectors," Torres continued, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. "Harmony Station in the Vega system went dark 6 days ago. The mining colony on Kepler 62F stopped transmitting 4 days ago. And yesterday we lost contact with the agricultural world of Terra Nova." The implications hit Kane like a physical blow. 4 separate attacks across hundreds of light years, all following the same pattern. This wasn't a random raid or territorial dispute. Someone had declared war on humanity itself, and they were conducting it with the systematic efficiency of a species that had done this before. "How long until the news reaches Earth?" Kane asked. "The major networks will have it within hours. Earth's population will know about New Eden by tonight." Kane closed her eyes, imagining 12 billion humans learning that their peaceful expansion among the stars had made them targets for genocide. The panic would be immediate and overwhelming. Fear would spread through every human world, every station, every ship traveling between the stars, and that fear would quickly transform into something far more dangerous. "Assemble the Defense Council," she ordered. "Full emergency session, and send a priority message to every fleet commander in human space. No ship travels alone, no colony goes undefended. We're at war now, whether we wanted it or not." The Earth Defense Council convened 6 hours later in the secured chambers beneath Geneva. Representatives from every major human world participated through quantum entanglement communicators. their faces reflecting the same mixture of shock and rage that Kane felt. President Martinez, Sarah's uncle and the elected leader of the Colonial Alliance, spoke first. "They killed my niece," he said simply. "They killed her while she was trying to tell the galaxy what was happening. She was 26 years old and she died trying to warn us about monsters we didn't even know existed." Kane activated the holographic display, showing the combined data from all 4 attacks. The pattern is consistent across all incidents. Complete extermination of human populations, no attempts at communication, no military objectives beyond killing every man, woman, and child they encounter. This is genocide, pure and simple. "What do we know about their capabilities?" asked General Park from the Martian Defense Force. "Their technology is superior to ours in most categories," Kane admitted. "Faster ships, more efficient weapons, better defensive systems. In a straight fight, they have significant advantages." "Most categories?" President Martinez caught the qualification immediately. Kane allowed herself a thin smile. "Their technology is more advanced, but it's also more specialized. Their ships are built for extermination campaigns against defenseless colonies. They're not prepared for military resistance from a species that fights back." The truth was more complex than Kane wanted to admit in an open session. Humanity's technology had always developed along different lines than most galactic civilizations. Where other species built efficient, elegant solutions to specific problems, humans created versatile, adaptable tools that could be modified for purposes their designers never imagined. A human mining laser could become a weapon. A cargo hauler could carry troops. A communications satellite could coordinate military operations. "What's our strategic position?" asked Admiral Chen from the Tau Ceti Defense Fleet. Kane manipulated the display to show human space in its entirety. Hundreds of worlds, thousands of stations, millions of ships spread across nearly 50 light-years of galaxy. The aliens had struck at the periphery, testing human responses and probably expecting panic and disorganization. "They've made a critical error," Kane announced. "They've assumed we're like their previous victims. Isolated colonies that can be picked off one by one without coordinated resistance. They don't understand that every attack on a human settlement is an attack on all of humanity." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. President Martinez leaned forward in his chair, his eyes hard with determination. "Admiral Kane, you have the full authority of the Colonial Alliance. Every ship, every weapon, every resource we possess. What do you need?" "Time," Kane replied. "Time to coordinate our response, time to prepare our defenses, and time to show these creatures that they've made the worst mistake in galactic history." She activated a new display showing human military assets across the galaxy. The numbers were impressive when combined, but scattered across such vast distances that coordination would be challenging. The aliens probably expected humanity to react defensively, pulling back to protect core worlds while abandoning the frontier. "We're not going to give them what they expect," Kane continued. "Every human world, every station, every ship is going to receive the same message. We don't retreat. We don't hide. We don't surrender. And we never ever forget what they did to New Eden." The council members exchanged glances, understanding dawning in their faces. Kane was proposing something unprecedented in human history. Not just a military response to attack, but a complete mobilization of human civilization for total war. "Admiral, are you suggesting—" General Park began. "I'm suggesting that these aliens wanted to exterminate humanity," Kane interrupted. "Instead, they've just unified us. Every human in the galaxy now knows that our survival depends on winning this war completely. There's no negotiation possible with a species that murders children for sport. There's no coexistence with creatures that see genocide as acceptable policy." President Martinez stood slowly, his face bearing the weight of the decision he was about to make. "Admiral Kane, the Colonial Alliance hereby authorizes you to prosecute this war by any means necessary. You have unlimited authority to defend humanity and respond to this unprovoked aggression." "And the rules of engagement?" Kane asked, though she already knew the answer. "They murdered 12,000 innocent civilians in cold blood," Martinez replied. "They've forfeited any claim to mercy or restraint. The only rule of engagement is victory, Admiral. Complete and total victory." Kane nodded grimly. Across human space, the largest military mobilization in history was about to begin. Ships that had never been designed for war would be converted to weapons. Scientists would become strategists. Farmers would become soldiers. And somewhere among the stars, An alien species that thought they were hunting defenseless prey was about to discover what happened when humanity stopped pretending to be civilized. Captain Marcus Webb had commanded the cargo hauler Sterling Dawn for 8 years, running supplies between the outer colonies and the manufacturing centers in the inner systems. His ship wasn't designed for war, built for efficiency and cargo capacity rather than speed or weapons. When Admiral Kane's mobilization order reached him at the Proxima Centauri depot, Webb almost laughed at the absurdity of it. That was before he saw the footage from New Eden. Now, 3 weeks later, the Sterling Dawn bore little resemblance to the peaceful cargo vessel she had once been. Her holds were packed with railgun assemblies salvaged from mining equipment. Her hull bristled with missile pods jury-rigged from construction drones. Her cargo bay had been converted to a fighter hangar, housing 6 converted mining shuttles that could barely qualify as combat craft. Webb wasn't alone in his transformation. Across human space, thousands of civilian vessels were undergoing similar modifications. Luxury liners became troop transports. Research ships became electronic warfare platforms. Even small personal craft were being fitted with whatever weapons their owners could acquire or manufacture. The aliens had chosen their targets carefully, Webb realized as he studied the tactical briefings. New Eden, Harmony Station, Terra Nova, and the Kepler 62F mining colony had all been isolated settlements with minimal defensive capabilities. The creatures had probably expected humanity to withdraw to more heavily defended worlds, abandoning the frontier and limiting their expansion. Instead, humanity had done the opposite. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Kane," announced Lieutenant Chen, the Sterling Dawn's communications officer. Webb had recruited her from a failed mining operation, and she'd proven surprisingly adept at military protocols despite her civilian background. Kane's image appeared on the main display, her uniform crisp despite the exhaustion visible in her eyes. "All vessels, this is Admiral Kane with Operation Shepherd's Wrath. Intelligence indicates an alien fleet of 23 ships is approaching the Barnard star system. Colonial survey estimates 12,000 civilians at risk across 3 settlements." Webb felt his crew tense around him. Barnard Star hosted some of humanity's oldest colonies outside the Sol system, established by the first generation of interstellar pioneers. The settlements there had grown organically over decades, sprawling. Communities built around mining operations and agricultural projects. "The enemy fleet will arrive in 18 hours, Kane continued. "I'm ordering all available ships to converge on Barnard Star immediately. This is not a rescue mission. We're going to show these creatures what happens when they threaten human civilians." The transmission ended, replaced by tactical data scrolling across the display. Webb studied the numbers with growing amazement. Nearly 400 human ships were responding to the call, ranging from military cruisers to converted pleasure craft. The aliens expected to find another defenseless colony. Instead, they would face the largest human fleet ever assembled. "Set course for Barnard Star, maximum acceleration," Webb ordered, "and signal the crew that this is what we've been preparing for." The Sterling Dawn joined the growing stream of human vessels racing toward Barnard Star. Webb had never seen anything like it in his years of commercial shipping. Ships that had never operated together formed impromptu squadrons based on speed and capability. Military protocols designed for organized fleets were adapted on the fly to coordinate hundreds of independently operating vessels. What impressed Webb most was the absolute determination visible in every human face on the communication channels. These weren't professional soldiers following orders. They were ordinary people who had seen the footage from New Eden and decided that such atrocities would never happen again. Farmers, miners, engineers, teachers, and cargo haulers had all reached the same conclusion. The aliens had to be stopped. The human fleet reached Barnard Star 6 hours before the alien ships arrived. Admiral Kane coordinated the defense from her flagship, the heavy cruiser Retribution, while civilian vessels took positions around the 3 inhabited worlds. Webb found himself assigned to Delta Squadron, a mixed group of cargo haulers and mining ships tasked with protecting the agricultural colony on Barnard Star 4. "Remember, these creatures showed no mercy to our people." Kane's voice reached every ship in the fleet. "We will show them the same consideration they showed to the children of New Eden." The alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace exactly on schedule. their biomechanoid ships spreading into the same attack formation they had used at New Eden. Webb watched the tactical display as 23 alien vessels positioned themselves for another systematic extermination campaign. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never encountered serious resistance. That confidence lasted exactly 37 seconds. The human fleet struck without warning or negotiation. 400 ships opened fire simultaneously, turning space around Barnard's star into a maelstrom of energy beams, missiles, and kinetic projectiles. The aliens had superior technology, but they were outnumbered 20-1 by opponents who had nothing to lose. Webb's railguns fired continuously, their magnetic coils launching tungsten projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. Around him, the improvised human fleet fought with desperate creativity, using every advantage their diverse technologies could provide. Mining ships deployed gravity mines that disrupted alien navigation. Cargo haulers launched clouds of metallic chaff that confused enemy targeting systems. Even small personal craft contributed by serving as missile platforms and electronic warfare nodes. The alien formation began to collapse under the sheer volume of human fire. Their shields were powerful, but not designed to handle sustained bombardment from hundreds of sources simultaneously. One by one, the biomechanoid ships began to take damage, their elegant curves scarred by human weapons. "Target the lead ship," Webb ordered his gunners. "Concentrate fire on their command vessel." The Sterling Dawn and 5 other converted cargo haulers focused their weapons on the largest alien ship, a massive creature that seemed to coordinate the enemy formation. Their railguns punched through its shields and hull, venting atmosphere and alien crew into the vacuum of space. But the aliens weren't helpless. Their weapons were indeed more advanced than human technology, and they began to adapt to the human tactics with disturbing speed. Energy beams lanced out from the alien ships, targeting human vessels with surgical precision. The converted pleasure craft Starlight Express vanished in a ball of plasma, taking its crew of retired colonists with it. "They're learning our patterns," Lieutenant Chen reported, "adjusting their targeting to compensate for our mobility advantage." Webb gritted his teeth as another human ship died under alien fire. The creatures were intelligent and adaptive, but they had made one critical error. They had assumed this would be another easy extermination campaign against defenseless civilians. Instead, they faced humans who had seen what happened to New Eden and chosen to fight. "All ships, this is Admiral Kane." The transmission reached every human vessel. "Execute Gamma Protocol. Show them how humans really fight." Gamma Protocol had been developed specifically for this engagement, based on humanity's greatest military advantage, the ability to improvise and adapt faster than any other known species. Instead of maintaining formation discipline, human ships began to operate independently, using their superior numbers to swarm individual alien vessels. The Sterling Dawn broke from Delta Squadron and joined a pack of mining ships targeting a damaged alien cruiser. They attacked from all directions simultaneously, their diverse weapons creating overlapping fields of fire that the alien vessel couldn't counter. Webb watched with grim satisfaction as the enemy ship's hull cracked under the bombardment, its biomechanical components failing as human tungsten rounds shredded its vital systems. Around Barnard's star, the pattern repeated dozens of times. Human ships surrounded individual alien vessels, overwhelming their defenses through sheer determination and firepower. The aliens fought back with lethal efficiency, destroying human ships faster than any military computer would consider acceptable. But for every human vessel they killed, 3 more took its place. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, space around Barnard's star was filled with debris from both fleets. 17 alien ships had been completely destroyed, with the remaining 6 so badly damaged they could barely maintain life support. The human fleet had lost 83 vessels and nearly 3,000 people, but the colonies on Barnard's star remained intact. 12,000 human civilians continued to live and work and dream among the stars. The aliens had failed to complete their extermination campaign for the first time since their war against humanity began. Webb surveyed the aftermath from the Sterling Dawn's damaged bridge, his cargo hauler scarred but still functional. Around him, the surviving human ships began rescue operations, searching for survivors from destroyed vessels while keeping careful watch on the crippled alien ships. "Captain," Lieutenant Chen announced, "Admiral Kane is hailing all ships." Kane's image appeared on the display, her uniform torn and her face streaked with smoke, but her eyes bright with fierce satisfaction. "All vessels, this is Admiral Kane. Today humanity proved that we will not go quietly into extinction. The aliens came here expecting to murder 12,000 innocent people. Instead, they found humans who refused to be victims." She paused, looking directly into the camera with an expression Webb would remember for the rest of his life. "This is just the beginning. They wanted to exterminate us. Instead, they've shown us exactly who we are when everything we love is threatened. And now it's our turn to show them what that means." Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent her entire career studying alien biology and xenopsychology, publishing papers on theoretical first contact scenarios and peaceful coexistence between species. Her work had helped establish the protocols for humanity's expansion among the stars, emphasizing careful exploration and respectful interaction with any alien life they might encounter. Those protocols seemed like naive fantasies now as she studied the captured alien from the Barnard star. Battle. The creature hung suspended in a biocontainment field within the secure laboratory aboard the research station Galileo. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, its chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh examination lights. Compound eyes tracked her movements with predatory intelligence while mandibles clicked in what might have been communication or simple aggression. "What have you learned?" Admiral Kane asked as she entered the laboratory. The Admiral looked exhausted, her uniform bearing the stains of a dozen battles fought across human space in the 3 months since New Eden. The war had spread to every frontier world, every trade route, every corner of human civilization. "They call themselves the Harvester Collective," Vasquez replied, activating the holographic display that showed her analysis. "Based on psychological profiling and biological examination, they're a species that has evolved specifically for extermination campaigns. Their entire culture revolves around the systematic destruction of other sentient species." Kane studied the alien with cold professionalism. This particular specimen had been captured when its damaged ship was boarded after Barnard's star, the only survivor from a crew of 37. It had killed 6 human soldiers before being subdued, fighting with the desperate fury of a creature that had never expected to be taken alive. "How many species have they eliminated?" Kane asked. "According to the data we've extracted from their neural implants, at least 47 confirmed extinctions over the past 2,000 years. They're nomadic, moving from sector to sector, systematically eliminating any species that shows potential for technological development." Vasquez enhanced the display to show the collective's expansion pattern across their region of the galaxy. It painted a picture of methodical genocide spanning millennia, with entire civilizations reduced to dead worlds and empty space. The aliens had perfected the art of extinction, turning it into a sustainable way of life. "They see other species as resources to be harvested," Vasquez continued, "not for slavery or economic exploitation, but for the simple satisfaction of eliminating potential competition. They believe the galaxy belongs to them by right of conquest, and any other intelligent life is an aberration to be corrected." Kane moved closer to the containment field, staring into the alien's compound eyes. The creature stared back without fear or hatred, its expression one of simple calculation. It was measuring her, she realized, evaluating threats and opportunities with the detached professionalism of a predator. "Can they be reasoned with? Negotiated with?" "No," Vasquez replied firmly. "Their psychology doesn't allow for coexistence. They're incapable of viewing other species as anything but targets for extermination. To them, we're not people. We're just another infestation to be eliminated." The implications hung heavy in the sterile air of the laboratory. Kane had hoped for some possibility of peace, some way to end the war without complete destruction of either species. But the evidence was clear. The Harvester Collective would never stop hunting humans until one species or the other was extinct. "What about their technology?" Kane asked. "Any weaknesses we can exploit?" Vasquez manipulated the display to show technical schematics recovered from captured alien vessels. "Their ships are biological constructs, grown rather than built. They're incredibly efficient but also specialized. They've evolved to hunt species with inferior technology, not to fight peer-level opponents." "We're hardly peer-level," Kane pointed out. "Their ships are still superior to ours in most categories. But not all categories, Vasquez smiled grimly. They've never encountered a species with humanity's technological diversity. Their weapons are optimized for energy efficiency and precision targeting. Our weapons are optimized for adaptability and overwhelming firepower. They build elegant solutions to specific problems. We build crude solutions that can be modified for purposes we haven't even thought of yet. Kane nodded, understanding the implications. Human technology had always been characterized by versatility over efficiency, creativity over optimization. It was why human ships could be converted from cargo haulers to warships in a matter of weeks. Why human weapons could be jury-rigged from mining equipment and construction tools. There's something else, Vasquez continued, her voice dropping to a whisper. According to our prisoners' memories, we're the first species that's fought back effectively. Every other civilization they've encountered either surrendered immediately or was destroyed in the first wave of attacks. They have no experience with prolonged warfare against a determined opponent. So we're teaching them, Kane said grimly. Every battle, every engagement, we're showing them how to fight humans more effectively. Yes, but we're also learning faster than they are. Their technology is optimized and static. Ours is adaptive and constantly evolving. Every captured alien weapon becomes a blueprint for human engineers. Every tactical defeat teaches us new strategies. Kane turned away from the alien prisoner, her mind already working on the implications. The war had been raging for months now, with both sides learning and adapting. But humanity's greatest advantage wasn't technological. It was the simple fact that humans refused to accept extinction as inevitable. How many of them are there? Kane asked. The collective operates approximately 3,000 ships across this region of the galaxy, Vasquez replied. But they're spread across multiple campaigns. They're simultaneously attacking at least 6 other species in neighboring sectors. Kane felt a cold smile cross her face. The aliens had made another critical error. They had assumed they could fight multiple wars simultaneously without consequences, but they had never encountered a species like humanity, one that could coordinate across vast distances and strike back with devastating effect. Admiral, the laboratory's communication system crackled to life. Priority message from Earth Command. Kane activated the secure channel and President Martinez's image appeared on the display. The man looked like he had aged years in the past months. The weight of leading humanity through its first interstellar war etched in every line of his face. Admiral, we've received intelligence from our deep space reconnaissance networks, Martinez announced. We've located what appears to be a major harvester staging area in the Wolf 359 system. Our analysts believe it's a forward operating base for their entire campaign against humanity. Kane felt her pulse quicken. Wolf 359 was only 7 light-years from Earth, close enough to threaten the heart of human civilization. If the aliens had established a major base there, it represented both a critical threat and an unprecedented opportunity. What's our force assessment? Kane asked. Every available ship in the Sol Defense Fleet plus reinforcements from Mars, Luna, and the asteroid belt. Admiral Chen estimates we can field nearly 800 vessels, including the new battlecruisers from the Emergency Shipbuilding Program. Kane studied the tactical data as it appeared on her display. 800 ships represented the largest human fleet ever assembled, a force that would have been unimaginable before the war began. But the aliens had established their forward base precisely because they considered it safely beyond human reach. Dr. Vasquez, Kane turned to the xenobiologist. In your professional opinion, what would be the psychological impact of a successful attack on a major harvester installation? Vasquez considered the question carefully, glancing at their alien prisoner. The creature had shown no emotional reaction to their conversation, but she could see heightened activity in its neural implants. They've never lost a major base, she replied slowly. Their entire species psychology is built around the assumption of their own superiority. A significant defeat might cause fundamental changes in their strategic thinking. Kane nodded grimly. The time for defensive actions was over. For months, humanity had fought to protect its colonies and trade routes, reacting to alien attacks with desperate courage and improvised tactics. But to win this war, they would need to take the offensive. Admiral, President Martinez continued, the Colonial Council has authorized Operation Nemesis. You have complete discretionary authority to prosecute this campaign as you see fit. Kane straightened, feeling the weight of command settle on her shoulders. Operation Nemesis would either mark the beginning of humanity's victory, or the start of its final defeat. But after New Eden, after Harmony Station, after all the innocent lives lost to alien genocide, there was really no choice at all. Understood, Mr. President, Kane replied. We'll show the Harvester Collective what happens when they mistake mercy for weakness. The alien prisoner's mandibles clicked rapidly as it processed the conversation, its compound eyes reflecting what might have been the first emotion Kane had seen from one of its species. It looked almost like fear. Fleet Admiral Helena Kane stood on the bridge of the battleship Retribution, watching as 800 human warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Wolf 359 system. The sight would have been impossible to imagine a year ago before New Eden, before humanity learned what it meant to fight for survival against an enemy that showed no mercy. The Harvester forward base sprawled across the asteroid belt of Wolf 359, a vast complex of biomechanical structures that had been growing for decades. Intelligence estimates suggested it housed over 50,000 alien warriors and served as the command center for their entire campaign against humanity. The base was defended by nearly 200 Harvester ships, including several massive bioforms that dwarfed anything humans had encountered before. Admiral, all fleet elements report ready for Operation Nemesis, announced Commander Torres from the tactical station. Around him, the bridge crew worked with the quiet efficiency of professionals who had learned their trade in the crucible of interstellar war. Kane studied the tactical display, noting the positions of human ships as they formed into attack formations. The fleet included vessels from every corner of human space, from the sleek military cruisers built in Earth's orbital shipyards to converted cargo haulers from the frontier colonies. What united them all was the knowledge that this battle would determine whether humanity survived as a species. Signal from the Vengeance, Admiral, the communications officer reported. Captain Martinez requests permission to lead the initial assault. Kane nodded grimly. Captain Martinez commanded one of the new Retribution-class battleships, vessels designed specifically for this war, using lessons learned from dozens of encounters with Harvester technology. More importantly, he was President Martinez's son, a connection that made his participation in the most dangerous phase of the operation symbolically crucial. Granted, Kane replied. All ships commence Operation Nemesis. For New Eden. For New Eden, echoed across every communication channel in the fleet, a battle cry that had become the rallying point for human resistance. The children murdered on that distant world had become symbols of everything humanity fought to protect, their memory driving 800 ships toward the largest battle in human history. The attack began with a bombardment that lit up space around Wolf 359 like a newborn star. Human ships unleashed everything in their arsenals, from traditional nuclear warheads to experimental weapons developed during the crash militarization program. Kinetic projectiles traveling at significant fractions of light speed slammed into the outer defenses of the Harvester base, while energy beams carved through biomechanical structures that had taken decades to grow. The Harvester response was immediate and devastating. Massive defense platforms emerged from the asteroid base, their weapon systems charging with the distinctive green glow of alien energy technology. Return fire lanced out toward the human fleet, each beam capable of vaporizing a cruiser-sized vessel in seconds. Evasive maneuvers. All ships, Kane ordered, watching as her carefully planned formations dissolved into chaotic individual combat. This was how humans fought best. She had learned, not through rigid discipline, but through adaptive improvisation that no alien strategy could predict or counter. The converted cargo hauler Sterling Dawn twisted through space with impossible agility for a vessel of its size. Captain Webb's modifications allowing it to outmaneuver ships designed specifically for combat. Its railguns fired continuously, adding to the storm of projectiles hammering the alien defenses. Around it, dozens of similar vessels proved that human ingenuity could transform any tool into a weapon. Admiral, the Vengeance is breaking through the outer perimeter, Torres reported, his voice tight with excitement. On the tactical display, Kane watched as Captain Martinez's battleship led a squadron of heavy cruisers directly into the heart of the Harvester base, their weapons carving a path through the alien defenses. But the aliens weren't helpless. As human ships penetrated deeper into the base, massive biomechanical creatures began to emerge from the asteroid complex. These were the Harvester's ultimate weapons, living starships the size of small moons, their hulls bristling with organic weapon systems that defied human understanding. "My God," whispered the sensor operator. "Those things are alive. The entire base is alive." Kane felt a chill of recognition as she studied the creatures emerging from Wolf 359's asteroids. These weren't ships in any conventional sense. They were evolved predators, biomechanical nightmares designed to hunt and kill on an interstellar scale. The Harvester Collective hadn't just built a forward base, they had grown an ecosystem of living weapons. "All ships, priority targeting on the bioforms," Kane ordered. "Everything we have, concentrate fire." 800 human ships turned their weapons toward the massive creatures, but the scale of their opponents was overwhelming. The largest bioform stretched nearly 50 kilometers from its sensory clusters to its propulsion organs, its hull thick enough to absorb nuclear explosions without significant damage. Smaller creatures swarmed around it like antibodies protecting a vital organ. The battle that followed pushed human technology and tactics to their absolute limits. Traditional weapons proved largely ineffective against the bioform's adaptive armor, while the creature's own weapon systems learned to counter human defensive measures with terrifying speed. For every bioform the human fleet destroyed, 2 more emerged from the depths of the asteroid base. "Admiral, we're losing ships faster than we can replace them," Torres reported grimly. "The Defiance and Freedom have been destroyed, and the Liberty is venting atmosphere." Kane watched her carefully assembled fleet being systematically dismantled by creatures that seemed to absorb damage and adapt to human tactics in real time. The bioforms were learning, evolving their responses to counter human weapons and strategies. This was what the Harvester Collective had done to 47 other species, and Kane could see why none of them had survived. But humanity had one advantage that those extinct civilizations had lacked. They had learned to think like their enemies. "Signal all ships," Kane ordered, her voice carrying across every communication channel in the fleet. "Execute protocol extinction. Authorization Kane Alpha 7. Protocol extinction was humanity's most desperate tactical doctrine, developed for situations where conventional warfare had failed. It abandoned every principle of civilized combat, every rule of engagement that separated soldiers from butchers. But after New Eden, after seeing what the Harvesters did to human children, Kane felt no hesitation in giving the order. The human fleet's targeting priorities shifted instantly. Instead of attacking the bioforms directly, they began targeting the asteroid base's life support systems, the organic infrastructure that kept the massive creatures alive. Surgical strikes penetrated deep into the complex, seeking the biomechanical organs that regulated temperature, atmosphere, and nutrient flow. "They're trying to preserve their breeding chambers." Dr. Vasquez's voice reached Kane through the quantum entanglement communicator from her research station. "The bioforms will sacrifice everything to protect their reproductive facilities." Kane smiled grimly as she watched the alien creatures begin to withdraw from combat, their massive forms moving to shield the most vulnerable parts of their base. The Harvesters' own biological imperatives were being used against them, their evolved need to protect their species' future, making them vulnerable to human exploitation. "All ships, converge on grid reference 77 Alpha, Kane ordered. "Everything we have into the breeding complex." The human fleet focused its remaining firepower on a single section of the asteroid base, overwhelming the bioform's ability to defend every critical system simultaneously. Nuclear fire bloomed among the organic structures, destroying facilities that had taken centuries to develop. The massive creatures writhed in apparent agony as their life support systems failed one by one. "Admiral, multiple bioforms are going into what appears to be death spasms," Torres reported. "The smaller creatures are fleeing the system." Kane watched with grim satisfaction as the Harvester forward base began to collapse. The bioforms that had seemed invincible minutes earlier were dying as their support systems failed, their massive bodies drifting powerless among the asteroids. The smaller Harvester ships that survived were fleeing toward the outer system, abandoning their stronghold to human conquest. "Damage report," Kane ordered as the immediate threat receded. "We've lost 237 ships," Torres replied soberly. "Nearly 3,000 personnel confirmed dead, with another 800 missing." The price of victory was staggering, but Kane felt no regret. They had accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. They had destroyed a major Harvester installation and proven that the aliens could be defeated. More importantly, they had captured the biomechanical technology that could shift the balance of the war. "Signal Earth Command," Kane ordered. "Wolf 359 is secure. The Harvester forward base has been eliminated, and we have captured significant alien technology for analysis." As human salvage crews began the dangerous work of exploring the ruined bioforms, Kane allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Harvester Collective had spent millennia perfecting the art of extinction, eliminating species across the galaxy with methodical efficiency. But they had never encountered anything like humanity's capacity for adaptive warfare and absolute determination. The war was far from over. Thousands of Harvester ships still roamed the galaxy, and their main fleets remained intact. But Wolf 359 proved that they could be beaten, that their biomechanical superiority was not insurmountable. Most importantly, it proved that humanity would never submit to extinction without fighting back with everything they possessed. In the ruins of the alien base, human scientists began the process of reverse engineering biomechanical technology that would transform the nature of the war. The Harvesters had taught humanity how to fight without mercy or restraint. Now humanity would teach them what happened when apex predators encountered prey that refused to die quietly. 2 years after New Eden, Fleet Admiral Helena Kane stood in the observation deck of the dreadnought Nemesis, watching as the largest human fleet in history prepared for humanity's final offensive against the Harvester Collective. The view outside showed vessels that would have been incomprehensible before the war began. Ships that blended human engineering with captured alien biotechnology in ways that challenged the boundaries between machine and organism. The Nemesis itself exemplified this fusion of technologies. Its hull was grown rather than built, using modified Harvester biomechanical processes that created armor capable of self-repair and adaptive response to enemy weapons. Human weapons. Systems were integrated throughout its organic structure, creating a warship that combined the best of both species' military capabilities. Admiral Final Fleet composition confirms 3,200 vessels ready for Operation Final Solution, reported Captain Torres, who had been promoted to serve as Kane's chief of staff after distinguishing himself in countless battles across human space. All ships report biomechanical systems operating within normal parameters. Kane nodded, studying the tactical display that showed the disposition of human forces across multiple star systems. The fleet included traditional human vessels, captured, Harvester ships operated by human crews, and the new hybrid warships that represented humanity's technological evolution. Every ship carried weapons specifically designed to exploit weaknesses discovered during 2 years of brutal warfare. "Status report from intelligence?" Kane asked. "Dr. Vasquez confirms that we've located the Harvester home system," Torres replied. "Long-range reconnaissance indicates approximately 50,000 ships concentrated around their primary breeding worlds. The entire collective appears to have withdrawn to defend their core territories." Kane felt a grim satisfaction as she processed the information. The Harvesters had spent 2 years learning that humanity was not another helpless species to be casually exterminated. Every human world they attacked was defended by increasingly sophisticated defenses. Every Harvester ship they lost was reverse engineered, and its technology incorporated into human vessels. What had begun as a simple extermination campaign had become a war for the collective's own survival. "Dr. Vasquez, report to the bridge," Kane ordered through the communication system. The xenobiologist had become humanity's foremost expert on Harvester psychology and biology, her insights proving crucial to every major human victory in the war. Vasquez arrived within minutes, her appearance reflecting the transformation that all of humanity had undergone during the conflict. Gone was the peaceful academic who had studied theoretical alien contact protocols. In her place stood a hardened strategist whose research had enabled the systematic destruction of an entire species. "Admiral, our analysis of captured Harvester communications confirms what we suspected," Vasquez began without preamble. "They're terrified. For the first time in their species' history, they're facing extinction rather than inflicting it. Their entire social structure is collapsing under the psychological pressure." Kane manipulated the tactical display to show intelligence gathered from across Harvester space. Their once organized expansion campaigns had devolved into desperate defensive actions. Ships that had spent millennia hunting helpless prey were being recalled to protect their homeworlds from an enemy they no longer understood. "What's their strategic position?" Kane asked. "Critical," Vasquez replied. "They've abandoned their campaigns against 4 other species to concentrate their forces for this battle. If we defeat them here, the Harvester Collective ceases to exist as a galactic threat." The implications hung heavy in the air of the bridge. Operation Final Solution was exactly what its name suggested: humanity's attempt to solve the Harvester problem once and for all. There would be no negotiation, no mercy, no possibility of coexistence. One species would survive this war and the other would join the 47 extinct civilizations in the collective's wake. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from President Martinez," the communications officer announced. Martinez's image appeared on the main display, his face bearing the weight of leading humanity through its first interstellar war. Behind him, Kane could see the emergency session of the Colonial Council. Representatives from every human world gathered to witness the final phase of their species' struggle for survival. "Admiral Kane, the Colonial Council has voted unanimously to authorize the complete prosecution of Operation Final Solution," Martinez announced formally. "You have absolute discretionary authority to eliminate the Harvester threat by any means necessary." Kane straightened, feeling the weight of command settle on her shoulders one final time. "Understood, Mr. President. Humanity will not face extinction today." The transmission ended, leaving Kane alone with her fleet and the knowledge that the next few hours would determine whether humans continued to exist among the stars. She activated the fleet-wide communication system, knowing that her words would reach every ship in the largest military operation in human history. "All vessels, this is Admiral Kane," she began, her voice carrying across 3,000 ships and nearly 500,000 people. 2 years ago, the Harvester Collective murdered 12,000 innocent civilians on New Eden. They believed they were eliminating another helpless species from the galaxy. Instead, they awakened something they had never encountered before. Kane paused, looking out at the hybrid warships that surrounded her flagship. Human ingenuity and alien technology had created vessels that neither species could have imagined. Alone, weapons systems that redefined the possibilities of interstellar warfare. "Today we finish what they started," Kane continued. "We show the Harvester Collective and every other species in the galaxy what happens when humanity is threatened with extinction. We demonstrate that some predators discover too late that they have become prey." The human fleet began its final approach toward the Harvester home system, 3,000 ships moving in perfect coordination despite their diverse origins and technologies. The journey would take 6 hours, giving Kane time to review the battle, plans one final time, and contemplate the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. Dr. Vasquez joined her in the observation deck as the fleet transitioned to hyperspace, the stars shifting into the familiar patterns of faster-than-light travel. "Admiral, there's something you should know about the Harvesters before we reach their homeworld." Kane turned to face the xenobiologist, noting the uncertainty in her expression. "What is it, Doctor?" "According to the data we've extracted from captured aliens, the Harvester Collective has been the dominant species in this region of the galaxy for over 10,000 years. They've eliminated hundreds of potential competitors, maintaining their supremacy through systematic genocide. What we're about to attempt has never been accomplished before." Kane nodded slowly, understanding the implications. Humanity was about to challenge a species that had perfected the art of survival through elimination of rivals. The Harvesters had faced countless enemies over millennia, and all of them had died. The odds against human success were astronomical. "Doctor, do you believe we can win?" Kane asked directly. Vasquez was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the hybrid warships that filled space around them. The Harvesters are an apex predator species that has never encountered serious resistance. They're biologically and psychologically optimized for hunting helpless prey. But humans aren't helpless, and we're definitely not prey. She turned to face Kane, her expression resolute. "They evolved to be perfect predators. We evolved to be perfect survivors. This war will determine which trait is more important when species fight for existence." 6 hours later, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Harvester home system. The sight that greeted them defied imagination. A star system transformed into the ultimate expression of biomechanical evolution. Massive space habitats orbited every planet, their organic surfaces pulsing with the rhythms of alien life. Breeding complexes the size of moons drifted through the asteroid belts, tending vast nurseries where new harvester ships grew like fruit on impossible trees. And protecting it all, 50,000 harvester warships arranged in defensive formations that had been refined over millennia of successful conquest. "Admiral, the enemy fleet is moving to intercept," Torres reported. "All harvester ships appear to be converging on our position." Kane smiled grimly as she watched the alien fleet begin its approach. The harvesters were doing exactly what she had hoped they would do, concentrating their forces for a decisive battle rather than dispersing to protect their breeding worlds. They still thought like predators, seeking to destroy their enemies through overwhelming force. "All ships commence final approach," Kane ordered. "Today civilization ends here." Their civilization. The human fleet advanced toward the heart of harvester space, carrying weapons designed specifically to exploit every weakness discovered during 2 years of total war. Behind them, across human space, billions of people watched and waited to learn whether their species would survive to see another dawn among the stars. The battle of the harvester homeworld was about to begin, and when it ended, only one species would remain to tell the story of what happened when humanity decided that some threats to civilization required permanent solutions.